Okay. So if you want to open up your book, welcome everyone. This is the Gauntlet Hangouts with Kingdom, a game about communities and the decisions they make. And I'd like to start out, if everyone could get their books, I believe it's page 6. There's a brief overview explaining what the idea of Kingdom is about. There are 3 paragraphs there. So if I can have Jim, then Patrick, and then Zach read read one of those, read those the sections like in succession.
Kingdoms, yeah, ready to go. Cool. Kingdoms are all around us. Groups are stronger than individuals. In a kingdom, we can work together to do great things, but we may not agree with what path our kingdom should take or what it should stand for. Can your vision of the kingdom work with mine? Can everybody get what they want? Because if you're part of the kingdom, it makes demands on you too. You're pressured to do what it thinks is right. The question becomes, do you change the kingdom, or does the kingdom change you?
We make our kingdom together. A kingdom is the game term for the community or organization that is the focus of our game. Any kind of community works, and we'll decide what kind of kingdom we want to play together. Our kingdom could be a frontier town in the Old West, a colony ship trawling towards a distant star, or the teachers and students of Sunnybrook Elementary School. Each of us will play a character who is part of the kingdom. The kingdom is what ties our characters together. It is the center of all of our lives.
And watch it burn. The game is about seeing what happens to the kingdom and the people in it, how the characters change the kingdom and how it changes them. As players, we all have equal authority to influence the game. It's up to each of us to push the kingdom in directions we find interesting. What will our kingdoms do? What will it become? Will it burn or flourish? Will it stay true to its ideals, our ideals, or will it become some twisted shadow of our dreams? The kingdom's fate is in our hands.
Excellent. Yeah, so that's what this game is about. And in the pitch for this session, the specific scope of the kingdom that we're looking at is something kind of inspired by a lot of space opera and hard sci-fi. Just the idea of a kingdom of humanity just on the cusp of becoming expanding out into the stars. So inspiration, things like the game Stellaris, the TV and book series The Expanse, even a little bit of Farscape, in a sense, could be a potential touchstone for this. So is everyone good with that? Cool. I've got 2 links in the chat here. The first link is the kingdom seed that we're going to work off of. But I also want you to pull up the second link right now and go to our Lines and Veils tab, because I want to handle that right up front before we start making the kingdom. For those who are not familiar with this, Lines and Veils are a content management tool to basically direct anything that we don't want to see in the game for, whatever reason. So a line is something that we don't want to happen, just period, in the game. A veil is something that can happen, but we gloss over it. We just kind of consign it to the background. We fast forward over it, fade to black, whatnot. So let me think for a second. If any of you want to put something in either of the categories, this is your opportunity. You should also all be able to edit. And I'll need to think if there's anything I want to add.
I'm trying to think of the proper adjective to describe really detailed depictions of violence.
Yeah, I
Gore is usually what
gore is what
people
I'm
say.
thinking.
Yeah.
Gore, and you could even just say like detailed violence. Just put those both in there. Cool. I couldn't think of anything to add to those ones there. But feel free to add to that as it goes on and you realize something, you can call out in chat. If everyone's got the chat open, you can call it in chat, like if you've added something to the document. We're also going to be using, as Gauntlet standard, the X card as a safety tool to explain it for anyone watching and for anyone here who's not familiar with it. If something happens in game that you're not comfortable with, just throw up an X in chat by making an X visibly there or some other way that we're able to see. And we'll just stop what's going on and move forward. So it's there to, for you to safely manage content and just to let you know there is a tool that you can fall back on if things go awry. So yeah, with that said, let's jump back over to the Kingdom Seed document and get started there. If Jim, can you read the introductory paragraph?
I sure can. Humanity across the stars. For centuries, humanity gazed to the stars, dreaming about what it would be like to travel across the vast distances of the night sky, wondering what marvels lay there. Even while we wrapped ourselves in our own conflicts and allegiances, we looked upward. Would you like me to read the whole section there or just that first paragraph?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Cool. The promised day finally came, born of the expected technological advancements of Earth and unexpected developments. We were given the key to the stars through a means we still do not fully understand, and it promises to change us in ways that we can't possibly anticipate. Eyes wide open, we leap forth into the void. Inspiration, like you said before, we're looking to The Expanse, Stellaris, Interstellar, cool movie, and Farscape.
Cool. Thank you very much. And if anyone else has any touchstones that this reminds them of, feel free to mention that as, here or as we're making stuff. So the first section of this document is about our kingdom specifically. So our kingdom, broadly defined, is essentially humanity and the core movement of humanity towards the stars, although there can also be outsider factions and areas of humans that are sort of beyond the reach or sectioned off from the main of humanity. But there's a few different choices we have to make about what exactly humanity is like and what this reaching into the stars looks like. So, this I'm going to look to the rest of you to start to fill out. Does anyone in these choices have anything they feel very strongly about?
Yeah, and that's the first one, which is that my favorite sci-fi trope is we start exploring the solar system and we find something out there that then unlocks everything else. So sitting there waiting for us on a moon of Jupiter is the Stargate or something like that. And that's one of my favorite, that kind of 2001 style sci-fi trope. So I would love it if we did up until now, we're expanding throughout the solar system, and not that it's like our very first, we've only done a couple of lunar missions, or there's this, solar system, culture that's existed for several hundred years. I kind of like that we're still like we've got bases, but we're kind of still stumbling out there, and we come across something. That's kind of always been my favorite trope. So
Yeah, that would be my preference too.
Cool.
I like that idea too.
I mean, I wrote all of these, so I pretty much like them all.
Cool.
Cool. The next one, humanity is, and this one talks about basically the organization of humanity. They're greatly divided and leaderless, unified under a single banner, or segmented into distinct but powerful factions.
I don't have a strong preference on that. There's interesting stuff we can do with all of those. Does anybody?
I think unified under a single banner would be the one I would like the least. I'd be happy with either of the other two.
Maybe if we're going with that route, I feel the having different powerful factions would be interesting, because they might have like differing opinions on, you know, how humanity should proceed. You know, finding this
That's
whatever
cool.
technology.
There's some built-in motivations that we can key into. It also makes like making NPCs. We can tag them to those factions in a way that gives us guidelines for playing them.
Yeah, and that's something I think we're gonna, dig into once we with threats, because factions are a very good source of threat, and B with character creation, locations. Like those are all good places to talk about what factions exist. So cool. Distinct but powerful factions. Now, the access to the rest of the galaxy, thanks to the unexplained appearance of an abandoned alien derelict, the freak invention of a faster-than-light drive, a mysterious wormhole near Earth, the discovery of an alien gateway complex, we have recently gained access to the rest of the galaxy. And here is where I'm specifically going to underscore, like, these aren't the only options. If you have a better idea, feel free to throw it out there. But just kind of get your mind thinking on what sorts of stuff we want to characterize the setting with. This question, the next question, are also going to very heavily define what type of sci-fi setting this winds up being, like especially in the existence of extraterrestrials and, the entities that aren't humans, basically. So if anyone has strong feelings about that or things they want to explore, definitely voice that now.
I feel like I rather much prefer if we're in the process of having first contact, or like extraterrestrials isn't as common as like you would have in day-to-day life. So we're in the process of, or like about to be in the process of encountering like intelligence.
So that sounds like the filled with other young species emerging onto a massive stage. Is that?
Yeah, for the fourth one, that could be.
Is that what you're saying, Zach, or do you want like, or is this like only? Are we making first contact like with only a single other species, or a small number of them?
I feel like, I don't know. I think it would be easier, or I think it would be interesting to have like a kind of like a focus of like a single species, but we are not even quite sure what, or like like what their scope is. I mean, my first instinct is that having them to be like a more advanced species, or like something that have like more power than like humankind ever have. So. How do people feel about that?
I think I'd prefer if it's kind of uncertain how powerful they are. And it's kind of a matter of debate among like humanity.
Yeah, we also are maybe starting to shade into our threats. at this point. Like we're kind of this is what we want to do. We want to set the stage.
Yeah.
Right now.
The one thing I do definitely want to nail down too is like, what was it that gave us the key basically to the rest of the galaxy and this contact?
Yeah, I guess the question is like, are there other civilizations out there that like is this something left behind that we found either accidentally or on purpose, or did we figure out how to do this ourselves?
I kind of like having no control over it, and just kind of finding it. That's my preference.
So do we? So it can. So do you want like a naturally occurring wormhole or an alien gateway complex? I kind of like the wormhole idea. That this is like that we're just lucky.
Yeah, I do too. I prefer it to the ancient aliens trope sort of thing is fine, but I think it's a little overdone, and I'd like to explore the wormhole sort of thing.
Yeah, and wormholes are like the wormhole thing is interesting because that's like point to point travel. But if we don't have faster than light drives, whenever we get wherever that is, we've still got the limitations of our human technology, and that creates some very interesting stuff. Yeah. You know,
that sounds really fun.
We can jump to this other part of the galaxy, but then when we're there, we've still got our solar system hopping ships that we're in.
Awesome. And I'm trying to sort of encapsulate the idea that we have of the rest of the galaxy. Like, so on the other side of this wormhole, like
what awaits us on the other side is another inhabited solar system.
Cool.
Right? I think that's kind of what we're talking about, right?
Does that sound good to people?
Yeah.
All right, I'll pencil that in.
So I have a quick question. Do you think we just discovered the wormhole, or have someone just went in it and went to the other side, or how do people feel about that?
I mean, I think that may be a little. I think the presumption is that there's been enough has happened that we've got some plot material to work with. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's not like we're not going to be starting the game just as this ship emerges, because then otherwise we don't have any threats or anything that we can have where we can understand what those threats are.
That makes sense.
Cool. And I just realized we actually need a place like the Kingdom Seat is great for like listing all these options, but let me make a thing on the sheet here for the kingdom itself. Oh, there. Okay. So we've got our characterization of the kingdom. So now brainstorming threats. And the book says brainstorm 3 threats to the kingdom. These are internal or external forces or pressures that would upset the status quo. They may be brewing or looming, but they aren't actively endangering the kingdom yet. They are on the horizon and they may never materialize. So like these are the things that you just kind of worry about in the back of your mind. Like what might happen here because you're not sure. So if someone has an idea for a threat, definitely, go ahead. There's a number of possible threats here to just give you ideas on what you could do.
So I think we talked a little bit about possibly the inhabitants of the solar system on the other side of the wormhole being at least perceived as a threat, whether they represent one or not.
So let me put up something that I think might be, which is aliens that are intelligent, spacefaring at roughly the same level of technology that we have, but live in a different environment. Because the we're gonna go to war over our exactly the same class M planets. Like the space war thing, I find kind of boring. But if it's like Mars would be perfect for them to live on, and they're, some world that in their universe, has maybe like oceans and some basic plant life, is a class M planet that would be perfect for us. Then there's all kinds of stuff with like negotiation and going back and forth, and they're they're mining fresh water from that planet, but we can actually live there. you know we've got some colonists who are in the mines on Mars, but they can actually live there. um or whatever, or on Venus or something like that, or they're methane breathers or something like that. um like, so that the possibility of like they move in and completely live on one of our planets and we move in on completely one of theirs, that is like something that can be negotiated, and not like a zero sum thing where like, you know um we covet each other's planets that we actually live on. How does that square with everybody? Does that, or do you find it more interesting that we're at loggerheads over?
I really like that idea. Because what I'm seeing happening is there's also like an internal threat of deferring opinions on whether or not we should welcome them or should actually just butt heads. And I think that might be interesting, just like the internal like conversation or philosophical difference within
Yeah.
humanity.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think one of the threats certainly would be like, you know, like, extractive, whatever the extractive mega corporation is that, owns all of the mines and the asteroids and, and Mars and the moons of Jupiter and stuff like that, and sees this as an opportunity for them to, you know, get their laser drills out and go at a whole new solar system. There's people that already live there.
Nice. Those sound pretty like that. That sounds pretty cool. Is there an idea for an external threat that we can throw up there? Because I'm hearing like the megacorp just wants to ruin everything in the solar system. There's also like disunity in the kingdom about how to treat the aliens and how to interact with them. Although like that rolls a little into it, but I also kind of like the idea of doing the megacorp separately. What's a good juicy like external threat, whether it's motivated by people, whether it's like maybe there's a hostile faction in the aliens, maybe it's something like resource issues. It could be the whole thing, like I guess like lack of habitable planets is more a sort of tension than anything.
I like resource scarcity. Do we have any preference on what resource it should be or resources?
I think it's absolutely got to be water. That's the like when you're traveling around in the in the vastness of outer space, it's precious and hard to come by, and if there's not a lot of it, and like if the aliens don't need it the way that, if like the aliens don't need liquid water the way we do, and their solar system doesn't have a ton of it, and we've got to get it all, it all has to be imported or something like that.
And that's a really big vulnerability.
It's a big vulnerability, and it's also a thing that if the aliens figure that out, they can, and they have ways of getting water easily, they can really put the screws to us for, when they drive deals or bargains with us.
Cool. I'm writing this down on a tab in the sheet. And then the third thing was the Megacorp.
Yeah.
So I've kind of got them written down as like water is scarce and we can't get it to the new solar system easily. Disunity in humanity about how to approach the aliens as allies or adversaries. And then Megacorp has designs on strip mining the new solar system.
Yep, that sounds about right.
So the next step, so threats are basically to give us an idea of what's going on with this kingdom. They don't actually ever have to directly come into play, but they're going to flavor the crossroads and the crises that pop up. And they're going to give us ideas and keep us on the same page. So the next step is locations. So locations are places in the kingdom where characters are likely to interact and be found. So when we're setting scenes later on, these are where things are going to take place. So starting off, we're each going to come up with one location, and then we're going to make a second location. So I'm going to start with myself first. I'm going to go with... Oh, what would be a good faction? The MEF Ishmael, which is it's basically a station right outside the wormhole that's kind of the jumping off point for a lot of human activity. MEF, the Martian Expeditionary Force.
And is it on our side of the wormhole or on the other side of the wormhole?
No, it's the other side of the wormhole.
Okay.
So, if any of you have specific ideas that are jumping out on you, go ahead. Otherwise, Zach, if you want to come up with a location.
I need a minute.
I've got one.
Awesome.
I was thinking of an embassy for the aliens. I don't know if it would be their embassy on Earth or maybe on a station orbiting Earth, or maybe our embassy in their solar system, but one or the other. Does anyone have a preference there or have any opinion on which would be more interesting?
I think them being here, they're both interesting. Them being here is really interesting.
Okay.
That also gives us an excuse to like see Earth and flash back to Earth and sort of involve the solar system back home in everything.
Yeah, and also, how are the individuals that this other species chooses to send to interface with us different than others, or not different, or what's required for them to interface with us, all that kind of stuff.
I don't know if we want to flesh it out now, but I was curious, what did you have in mind the Mars Expeditionary Force referring to? Is it a force from a Martian settlement? Is it a force that was sent to Mars initially and has now been repurposed for exploring this wormhole?
Yeah, so it's kind of thinking like one of the factions is probably headquartered up on Mars, and they've kind of style themselves as the main political power on Mars, and they do things in the name of the Mars settlements.
Okay, sounds good.
Jim, did you have one?
Yeah. I have. Let's see. Let me see here. I've got the Phobos Bazaar, which is a black market for contraband from Earth and the the methane galaxy, the methane system. So yeah, big black market on the Martian moon of Phobos. I think Phobos is Phobos. Which is the bigger of the two? I think it's Phobos. That's the bigger of the two. This is where Google's going to be our friend here, I think.
Definitely, because I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's Phobos and Deimos, I think, right? Phobos and Deimos.
Yeah, it looks like Phobos is the big one.
Yes, yep. Phobos is fear and Deimos is dread. So there we go. All right, yeah. So station on Phobos that is where you can barter in like stuff that's not supposed to leave Earth, and that is obtained, at great cost through all of the various levels of quarantine for anything coming from that other solar system.
Cool. Zach, you got something? And there's also there's a list of location ideas if you need some inspiration.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely thinking of doing some sort of a like a headquarter of the Mega Corp. And I liked it to be some sort of like a man-made satellite, or even like a warship, or like a big ship, mothership. I'll have to probably figure out what the name of the megacore itself, and so let's see. If anyone have a very good idea that it's on the tip of their tongue, let me know. But I'm gonna give it a shot here.
I do have a question. If the megacorps have huge warships, do they also like, are they basically like a state unto themselves, or are they a military contractor of some sort?
I am, in my head, I feel like what they're saying is that they're like some sort of like trade organization, but in reality they're also like their own faction. And so with that, there's like an inherent militaristic kind of aspect to that, in which they it's like for defense and blah blah blah. But in reality, I feel like
it's kind of
pure exploitation and colonization.
Yeah, I imagine it's a kind of the kind of ad absurdum expansion of corporate individual rights starts to, well, a person can arm themselves for defense. Why can't we as a corporation do that? Because we have all the legal rights and appurtenances there too, and stuff like that. And
exactly.
I feel like their name should be something that is like ambiguous, but maybe it's good. So if they call themselves like Applied Environmental Solutions or something like that, that is like that's like such an anodyne, but like vaguely sinister. Like, you can do all kinds of stuff there. You can do like extraction or, atmosphere. Like, that's a company that can be in charge of, pulling stuff out of the mines on the asteroids and maintaining the atmosphere scrubbers on Mars, and stuff like this. So
I think I think it's interesting. My also I really like that idea, and I would also like to add like a person's name to it too. You know, like
I think we're gonna do people as its own thing, right? Yeah, we're gonna do characters.
right,
Right, but
like the name of the
named after its
corporation.
founder or something?
Oh! I
Right.
see what
Yeah.
you're saying. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
like Willis something, or you know like um
Willis Applied Dynamics.
WAD. That's a WAD, right?
Or you could do the whole Wayland Yutani thing and just like use names with nothing attached.
Yeah, you can certainly do that. Yeah.
Oh,
Or just
Alien. That's a good touchstone.
generic corporate speak like Willis Amalgamated Holdings or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I actually really like that one if everyone's okay with that.
Yeah. Wah? Wah! Awesome.
I have so christened it in the threats. And I like that it has a corporate mothership like that. That's something new. I don't see too many of those.
Zach, is that kind of what you're getting at? That there's like that they've got their.
Yep, they're not attached to like a a body of like a planet or something.
Oh yeah, it's like nobody owns space, so they're in.
It's seasteading in space. Yeah.
Yeah, they have full sovereignty.
I mean, a satellite would be too much like Death Star, but instead of malicious.
Okay, let's see.
So are we still coming up with more?
Yes.
How many
So
reboots
now
each?
we're going to go back around and come up with a second location,
Got it.
and then we'll move on to characters. So I'm thinking, like the toxic jungle on one of the planets in the new solar system. Anyone have like a good name that Earth people might give to a planet like that?
Was this the native world of the aliens, or a different, or
I think
just
I
one of
think
the planets in their solar system?
I think like we kind of talked about the idea that like we have different habitability stuff. So I
Yeah.
kind of like the idea that it's this sort of it's not very, it's pretty hostile to the aliens and it's kind of hostile to the humans, but not
Oh,
as
it's like an
hostile.
edge case. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's this toxic jungle. There's like gases and whatever, but you know, at least it's got a reasonable temperature and humidity index. Um, trying to think of something that would be like in terms of folklore mythology that might be good for this.
Maybe a Jungle Book character or something.
Oh,
I don't remember any of them. I saw that movie like 25 years ago or something.
or I could just call it Groot.
I'm down for that. Like add an adjective to that too. Like the Groot pit or something, or like
Maybe like a letter or a number. Groot 3.
Yeah. Sure.
So then that would be the name of the whole solar system, maybe, or would that be one of the moons of a planet?
Yeah, I think it's a moon. I think
Yeah,
it's a
that's
moon,
cool.
like of the planet of moon group. Cool. Next up, Jim, if you have one.
I've got one I can go with. I was thinking that if the Mars faction has a a station on the other side of the wormhole, that's the primary station for stuff over there. Maybe the Earth faction has like a toll booth or something on this
Ooh,
side
that's
of
really
the
cool.
wormhole.
So it's like a customs or
certainly
what's the other word?
station, yeah.
And I like,
like a port of entry. Yeah.
and I like for like a faction to have a monopoly for that toll booth. I think that would be super interesting.
So for my location, I created New Roanoke, which is the illegal colony that's on that Class M planet on the other side that they've settled without like we haven't done all the diplomatic negotiations and everything required to actually make that a legal place for people to be, but some of them, like a colony, has managed to settle down there and is trying to make a go of it.
Nice, I like that one.
So what do we want to call the Earth faction?
Well, where did they come from? Like, is this did they evolve from like the UN, or is this a more militant faction, or we already have a megacorp? Are they from a different sphere of influence?
I mean, it's also entirely like, I also wonder if there's a thing where like they could be like freelancers that found this and essentially and took advantage of some kind of the way like salvage law works or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
like we have first rights to this stabilized wormhole.
Yeah, and
they're opportunists.
Yeah.
Would that mean that they're a faction in itself then? Like a faction that's dedicated to controlling the wormhole?
Yeah. I think
to me that if they are the if they're the gatekeepers, which is like a great name for that faction, I think.
They just like they went from like nobodies to becoming some of the most important people in the solar system.
Yeah, and not even necessarily because they like you don't need to take that big a cut from everybody who's coming and going if you're getting a cut from everybody who's coming and going. So yeah, whatever. Yeah, gatekeeper station or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'll try and come up with something.
Cool. And just kind of wrap it up, Zach, if you have one more idea for location.
I think I would like some sort of a neutral zone, whether or not it be like a space debris or like an asteroid just floating around, and there's like, like no faction has control over it, and that's where all the different factions meet, including the aliens. And then there's some sort of like structure on that asteroid that people would come and negotiate.
It's the neutral. Yeah, the neutral ground. Is that in the solar system or is that in the new solar system?
You know what? I'm struggling. I think that's kind of where I'm trying to figure out where it is located.
Or maybe we dealing with two wormholes that are there's like a uninhabited system in between them, or maybe there's not even a star there or something. It's just cold rocks floating in space. I don't know.
That's an interesting idea. So like you've got one wormhole that just goes to this abandoned
that's
dead zone.
That just blew my mind.
And then there's another wormhole that connected that solar system to this.
Oh yeah, that's really interesting. That's like our that's kind of like your Stargate network thing, but doesn't seem to be, yeah, but without any clear, you know, designer or intelligence or anything
For
like that.
for whatever reason, it attracted these wormholes, and they both spill out at this place. So it's this neutral ground waypoint. I know. What do you think about that, Zach?
I like that. I like, yeah. I mean, I feel like obviously it has to be not in either solar system. So I think that works definitely.
Yeah.
It's like whatever you want to call that, like the dead zone, or if
I think we'd call that purgatory. Stuck in the middle, man, with nothing. It's not heaven, it's not hell.
I'm game for that.
And it takes a while to get through. I also kind of love that story of like, we finally get up the chutzpah or whatever to actually send somebody through the wormhole, and we're like, well, shit, this is disappointing.
And then like the other wormhole opens up.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's more disappointing.
Awesome. Okay, so moving on to character creation now. Make sure to put your name in a name field. It looks like most of you have done that. Zach, it looks like there's one left here. So the first thing to do is to pick a role. There are 3 different roles that characters can have in Kingdom. Power is the role that gets things done. When it comes time for the kingdom to make a decision, you literally choose that. Whatever your character says becomes the decision of the kingdom. You know, and a lot of these powers, like they're powers that characters don't realize they have or don't. You know, these are powers that operate on a higher level. It's like, but for the moment, your character's words actually mean something. The second role is perspective. What your character observes about the kingdom and the decisions it's about to make is accurate. Even if they don't realize it. It is, well, you can override that later, but for all intents and purposes, they perceive the kingdom accurately. Like they're your scientists, your journalists. They have opinions about the kingdom and the consequences of actions. And then the third role is touchstone. Touchstone is in tune with the way that the kingdom feels, again, whether or not they realize it. They feel the same things that the kingdom feels. So when they're in a scene and they're expressing feelings, by default, they're expressing the feelings of the kingdom. So pick which role sounds the most interesting to you. I'm going to probably take perspective, but go for what you think sounds the most interesting, and keep in mind that you will probably be changing this role as the game goes on.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. So it's not so imperative that we make sure everybody has each a different one and that they're each filled.
It's a good idea to try and get each of the 3, at least from the start, but it will definitely, like, you can change your role to correct for things as the game goes on. And if you decide that you want to be involved in a different part, usually lots of overlap is going to mean that things get really testy for the kingdom. Especially if there's something like a power vacuum, or nobody's actually giving the consequences of actions, or nobody's in tune with the kingdom. But yes, you can totally change your role. Like if you decide, wait, I want to do something about this, or wait, I want to have a say about what's happening. Cool. So we've got Jim with the touchstone. Yeah, and you'll notice when you pick one of those roles, a box on the bottom of your character sheet actually fills in and tells you what your abilities and what happens during the scene. Cool. So we have power, 2 perspectives, and a touchstone. So now, who are you? What is the concept for your character? And there's a few of these back in the document. Your description should include what do you do in the kingdom? What's your job? What are your duties? And what do you look like? You know, man, woman, other, young, old. What sort of culture do you come from?
And I think we are all humans, right?
Correct.
We are all people. Okay, cool. All right. Okay.
Yes,
and
'cause
then
that's-
and aliens are the aliens. Got it. Okay, cool.
Like, unless there's the rare case of, you know, an alien that considers themselves a part of humanity, but I don't think we've had enough contact for that to happen
Yeah,
yet.
no, we'll play
So-
to find that out. I think that's okay.
Yeah.
But we're saying our kingdom encompasses all human factions, right?
Yes. There might be elements of humanity that are for some reason outside of the kingdom. Because there always has to be space outside the kingdom for people to escape to if they don't want to stay on board with it.
Right.
But I think we have those spaces set up. Your character must be part of the kingdom, and all the characters must be able to interact with each other, even if they come from very different circumstances. It's a good idea to pick a concept that fits the role you chose. Some roles might have obvious fits, but you can also go with something non-obvious. One example they have is a weak king who understands their people, who would be a touchstone, even though they're a king. They don't have much actual power. Or a general who obeys orders but understands how bad these orders are for their country, which would be a perspective and not a power. This can also change. You know, your role is going to contrast with your concept. Make a character who cares about the kingdom and is affected by the kingdom, and a character who just can't get up and leave whenever they feel like it. You know, something has to tie your character back to the kingdom. Like, even if your character is physically capable of getting up and leaving the kingdom, they probably have a reason that they want to stay. So if you need any help or brainstorming, let us know and we can talk through that.
So I was thinking of a political leader, but I didn't want to go with a president. So I was thinking of maybe a leader of a party that's present in multiple of these factions.
Yeah, that could be it. When it comes to being power, you don't actually have to be a person who would conceivably be able to, like, control the entire kingdom. You can still be power if you have less influence than that. It just needs to be someone whose voice is heard or whose actions carry weight.
Okay.
Nice. So we have a linguistics professor as a touchstone.
And then like wish, fear, issue, are we filling those out now or?
We'll get to that. We'll
Okay,
get to
cool.
that.
All right, okay. Let's start with who we are.
I'm going with a mercenary who was a former veteran in like conflicts previous. They're now in the employ of Willis Amalgamated. And that's a perspective character. We've got the whip of the Earth Mars Labor Party, the majority party on Mars and a minority party on Earth. Nice.
Yep, that's me, Charlie Scuffer.
Yep. So I've got Justice, a middle-aged African war veteran who turned into a mercenary and works for Willis Amalgamated. And Zach has a 300-year-old elder, guardian of the ancient Earth knowledge. That's really cool, like, because that combines some sort of sci-fi high-tech stuff. Like, you've got people who are able to live for that long and tying it back to the older culture. Feel free to spend time, thinking of a name as we go through the next steps. The next big one is locations. You're going to want 2 locations that your character has found. What you do, kind of tell us what you do in those locations, why you picked them. These are, places that would be good to have scenes with your character. So going off of the kingdom, I'm going to, and you can make up new ones if you need. I'm definitely going for that mothership. You can make up a new one if you want. And it's a good idea to share at least one location. Or have at least one unique location. You can also share locations with other people.
We should have we should have one location that can be a location where typically only we are found, but we should have at least one that overlaps with someone else. In other words, okay.
Yeah.
And whether that's one that we made in advance or just made up.
But more important, definitely, like, of those 2, it's more important to have one that nobody else has, I would say.
Got it. Okay.
And do all our scenes have to take place in that location, or is it just a...
No, it's kind of like this is a really good...
Your main set.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a really good place to have scenes with your character. So obviously on the mothership, like, I would be getting briefed and tending to corporation business. I think I'm also in the jungle of Group 3, scouting out for resources. So like I'm part of the team that's trying to figure out what resources we can get from it. And I'm serving as protection for the survey team.
Can we have some sort of like old ancient libraries and
That sounds really cool.
Yeah,
like somewhere on Earth?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's totally awesome.
That sounds like a very good location for your character.
Yeah.
Andy, do you mind freezing it from row 4?
Yeah, let me set that up.
So
That's
that we can,
a
so that when we
really good
scroll, we
idea.
can, we'll have the character names will still be up there.
I'm trying to remember how to do that.
Click anywhere on row 4, go to view, and it'll say freeze there.
Cool.
And you can say freeze from current row.
Uh-oh. You can't freeze rows which contain only part of a merged cell. What's the merged?
Oh, it's the challenge thing. There we go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can do that just by cutting and pasting it down onto row 5, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think I should also be able to just split this apart. Nope. Oh, no. Oh, I see. They're merged like that.
They're merged vertically, yeah.
So let's move those down. Oh, that should do it.
Now you should be good.
All right, yeah, much better. Cool. And while you're finishing up locations, folks can start thinking about their wish or fear. Something that you wish or fear for the kingdom. You know, a wish is something you hope the kingdom will do or become. A fear is something you dread. These are not personal wishes or fears, but things that you want the kingdom to be or do. Like, they can totally be things that would be good for you if the kingdom did them. But, you know, like, I wish to be rich is not an allowable wish because it's about you. I wish the kingdom will be wealthy is valid because it's about the kingdom. And it might benefit you in the way that you want, but A, that's not a guarantee. B, it's specifically about the kingdom.
Sorry, I'm not clear. Are we doing a wish or a fear, or a wish and a fear?
It's one or the other. Oh, good. We need a little optimism. Just got these two fears coming straight out of the gate.
Well, let's wait till I actually come up with
Oh
something.
boy. Cool. So we've got a nice slate. So Charlie Scuffer wishes for humanity to be unified. Justice, the mercenary, is afraid that humanity's infighting will destroy us all. So there's some alignment there. Shannon Wu, our linguistics professor, the xenolinguist, is afraid that a social blunder will doom our efforts to peacefully communicate with the aliens.
A preventable social.
Preventable, yes. A faux pas.
Yes.
And Mother Ra'atu fears that humankind will repeat their past mistakes of greed-fueled expansion, which is probably very valid.
It sounds legit.
Then there's two more things left. One is an issue. Some personal problem that holds you back, whether it's an external problem, a relationship, some sort of thing that sabotages you. So Justice is a bit of an adrenaline junkie. He has this need for dangerous action that just popped up through his combat history, and he just can't shake it.
So just so I'm clear, the wish and fear is for the kingdom, and the issue is a personal thing.
Correct. It's like what holds you back, what sabotages you.
Got it.
The thing that sabotages Shannon is that she believes that everyone can be convinced through sound argument if you're persistent enough.
That's wonderfully ironic for a touchstone. Okay, so Charlie Scuffer is indebted to the principal shareholder of Willis Amalgamated. Ooh.
Yes, indeed.
And Mother Ratu is actually old and dying, weakening as people leave Earth. That's really cool. I love the character. So, finally, everyone makes a bond with the player to their left, which has already been automatically taken care of there. It can be a duty that you owe them or a relationship that you have to them. Something that it can be friendly, it can put you at odds. What do you need from them? So there's two parts of that. It's how are you connected and what do you need from them? So I almost think that like Justice has been listening to and trying to follow Mother Ratu's wisdom, and like he needs perspective and understanding from her.
I like that. Does that mean that because we're both perspective characters, I wonder how that plays out, or if it's
I just mean on a personal level. Like,
okay.
In the game, perspective is about seeing what's going to happen to the kingdom. This is more like perspective, like figuring things out for himself, what sort of person he is.
Okay.
Yeah, in the non-mechanical sense.
So I have an idea for a professional relationship between Charlie and Justice, or for a personal one. Do you have any preference there?
It might be interesting to have something that's professional.
Okay.
Just as a sort of mix.
So my idea for that was that they worked together in some capacity back when Justice was actively serving in the military.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Justice was security for party members, or maybe an attendant, kind of how they have like attendants at the White House that work in the Navy or whatever.
I mean, could it be as simple as like you were in boot camp together when you were soldiers?
Could be. I mean, we're close enough in age that that's possible.
Oh.
Or
interesting.
like you were in a squad together for your 2-year mandatory
we were posted to the
mandatory
same
service
for a
or
while.
something.
Yeah. And then I stayed. Charlie left, and Willis Amalgamated brought us back together.
I mean, because that can even be a thing where you are pen pals and keeping in touch the whole time or something like that. Whatever, who knows? That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like that's actually a pretty neat blend of like personal and professional, and I like that. And what do you need from Justice?
I think information of what's going on out on the frontier.
Oh, yeah.
Patrick, you're a politician.
Yep, correct.
Or Charlie, sorry, Charlie, you're a politician. I'm linguistics professor. Do we want to be related? Like you're my brother-in-law or something like that?
Ooh.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So you're married to my do you see yourself as being married? Or I just made you married without your consent. I'm sorry.
No,
Is that
that's fine. That's kind of what we're doing here. I think it's probably more of an estranged marriage at this point.
okay?
But there may be
Sure.
children involved.
Okay.
It's kind of got that whole like maybe even a political entanglements.
Sure. So your ex-wife or your ex-husband?
Ex-husband.
There we go. All right, cool. Who's my probably younger brother?
Yeah, it looks like you're 7 or 8 years older, maybe something around there.
Yeah, okay. All right. So relationship is it's personal. And I need Charlie to keep looking the other way on Phobos.
Oh. And what kind of relationship is that? Is that positive? Is it somewhat negative?
I don't know. Like, I kind of like it if it's. Because I I don't have this in my life, so
Uh-huh.
I am fascinated by the thing where like people break up,
Yeah.
but you're still friends with the friends, like their friends and family
Mhm.
and stuff like that. I mean,
So
I don't
it's
know if you're,
Yeah, I like that.
yeah. Like I think it's great if we really like each other and get along really well and stuff like that,
Yeah.
even though, you know, like maybe
Yeah.
we both agree that my brother can be kind of a cad
Yeah.
and, you know, and that what if he was smart, he'd have stayed with you.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I like that.
Cool. And I think that like something like that Phobos Bazaar that I described has to be a thing that is like an open kind of an open secret, and like something like that only exists with like the government, you know, with
If
somebody
it's
looking the other
past
way and
permission, yeah.
people getting bribes or whatever and stuff like that. And like I think some amount of my research owes itself to like stuff I got through unofficial channels. And so it may even be, I think actually even better than looking the other way on the matter of Phobos writ large on my travel there.
Okay.
And that it may be that like, you know, like whatever it is that lets me get there is, you know, you have to sign off on or tell people I'm all right or something like that. Does that work and make sense for you?
Yeah, like how the military has their own like travel flights, like in America where they have like space A travel for folks.
Mhm.
Maybe it's something like that where like, you get your
Oh,
seat on there.
yeah, I hitch a ride on a diplomatic, you know, courier or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that technically there's not supposed to be civilians on. Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, that's cool. Then I'm gonna say
Jen?
yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah. What do you think then was studying or was like one of the last pupils to Mother Ra'atu?
Oh, that's really cool that you were like a yeah, when you were still healthy enough to be teaching. I was like your last
Right.
grad student assistant or something like that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's another one where it's like Oh, nowhere is the personal and the professional more muddy than like professor and like graduate assistant. And are you working? Are you doing your research? Are you their friend? Are you their, yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Sure.
Very cool.
I think Shannon's probably one of the few people that's Mother Atu alive through some because you're older, maybe you're kind of like I don't know, you're one of the people that can actually speak the language. Kind of like my eyes and ears to what's happening in the frontier,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah,
all
if
that.
I'm your past your lifeline to the outside.
Yeah. And through my teachings you're able to like get this far as well. So
Yeah, I think that's great.
Awesome. So, starting play then. So we've got a pretty good picture of these characters. So Justice, the veteran turned mercenary. Charlie Scuffer, the Earth Mars Labor Party whip. Shannon Wu, the linguistics professor. And Mother Ra'atu. So the way that Kingdom plays out.
Could we maybe, since we're 90 minutes in, about
Yeah.
halfway, could we maybe take a little bio break here?
That's a really good idea. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
Let's do that. We'll come back, take care of a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for?
Housekeeping.
Yes, that's the word. And we'll get started.
Fantastic.
See you back at say 40 after, unless if everyone's good with that.
Works for me.
All right, welcome all. So we've got characters. Before we proceed, what do people's time schedules look like? I was thinking probably going to 9 Eastern, which I don't know what that is for other people offhand, but
That's cool. I think you said we should plan for 3 hours, and that's right on the money. Yeah.
I can definitely work with that. So
cool.
Yeah, that works for me.
Basically, that's just going to inform how long we go. This game has a particular process to it, and basically, as it nears the end, you can basically be like, okay, we're going to end it, when this one thing wraps up. So the first thing to do to just get things rolling is to decide on the first crossroad. So crossroads are the big decisions that the kingdom has to make. There should be an obvious yes, we do this, or no, we don't do this. In terms of consequences, you don't need to bake any consequences into the decision immediately. Like people might think they have ideas of what consequences might be, but ultimately that's going to be down to perspective to give consequences. So does anyone have an idea that they're just burning to get out there as a crossroad?
I think the aliens are pressing us pretty hard to allow them to settle a planet in our solar system, since one's already been illegally settled in their solar system.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
The crossroads is whether to allow it or not, I would guess.
Cool. So it's allow the aliens to settle on. Do you have a planet in mind?
No. I think the wording. I think I made a poor choice in allow. And maybe approve would be better, because maybe we can't stop them anyway, even if
Oh,
they don't
okay.
have our approval.
I mean, up to you. Those definitely imply different things. So what is the planet that they've set their sights on? Or are they just pushing for a planet, any planet?
I don't know. Venus would be interesting, maybe.
Yeah, Venus, I think, is like Venus has an actual Venus has like an atmosphere that's like crazy hostile to life on Earth, but there is an
Yeah.
atmosphere there.
And that tells us something too about, these aliens.
Yeah. And it's also got that thing where it's close by.
So is there a part of the spreadsheet we should be adding this to? I'm not seeing it.
Yes, that is the fourth tab, crossroads/crisis/time. And this is the main play area. There's going to be boxes that we'll check. And as those boxes are basically progress meters for either internal crisis in the kingdom, time just passing, and slowly changing things, or the crossroads becoming more imminent to the point where we have to confront it. Okay.
So how, in what way do we want to word a crossroads? Is it more of a question or a statement?
Yeah. Will the kingdom blank? So in this case, I think, will the kingdom allow the aliens to settle on Venus?
I put, will the kingdom approve an alien colony on Venus?
Nice. Yes. Very good. So with that said, I'll just set up the first scene as an example. So we have that crossroads there, and the crossroads should really be the focus of play. So when you set up a scene, so I state my role. My role is perspective. What's happening? So what's happening is that Charlie Scuffer has contacted Justice to meet with him at the alien embassy because he needs information. I think it might also be interesting to see either Shannon or Mother Ra'atu there. What are your thoughts?
I'm fine with being in on that.
Cool.
But Zach, I don't want to take you out of the scene if you're interested in being in it.
I'm interested.
So why don't you have Mother Ratu there then, and I'll sit
Yes.
this one out.
And you'll still get a chance to be involved with the scene.
I'm not super worried about it.
So there's a mechanic for that. So we're at the alien embassy, and as you play the scene, if you look at the bottom of your character sheet, there is instruction on what you're able to do. So Justice shows up. Does Charlie have an office at the embassy?
I don't think he has a permanent office there, but I think there are party offices, which he's using one at the moment.
All right, cool. So Justice comes up and he greets Charlie. I don't know when the last time that it's been that I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
What do you guys look like?
Yeah, so
like are you wearing a dress uniform? Are you in civvies? What's your deal?
no, I'm in not a dress uniform. I'm actually like not quite civvies, but like I'm actually wearing some of my gear. Especially like a reinforced shirt or jacket. So like protective gear, not full combat armor, but definitely.
And I think Charlie, I think at least for this political party, like the standard suit and tie has gone out of fashion. Like there's a certain affectation of like blue collar labor. Like we have a lieutenant governor here who wears Carhartt and Dickies all the time. And I think he's a politician kind of that mold.
Nice. And Mother Ra'atu, why are you here? And what gets you involved in this?
I think, well, obviously, because it's on Earth, and it's, like she wants to know where, the direction of humankind is going, and especially with this, allowing an extraterrestrial to colonize one of our planets. I think it's definitely one of like her concern.
So is this something where like she's been in contact with Charlie even?
I think Shannon has been kind of like communicating to me or like telling me what's the latest news and all that, and something I should be thinking and like be concerned about. So yeah. And
Do you have any kind of like gerontological assistance to get around? I mean, are you disabled without the use of technology, or what's your what's your medical situation?
so she's definitely immobile in the sense that like nothing, her limbs doesn't work. So what you see her is she's in this kind of like an egg shape, like this floating egg, and you just eat, and it's, I would say it's kind of like upside down, so like the white part is at the top and you can see her face through this window. And she always has an assistant uh just following her around.
That's friggin' cool.
That is so cool. So yeah, so Justice, yeah, why'd you call me here? It's looking back at Charlie.
Well, out of character, do we have a name for the aliens yet? Or do we want to come up with one now? Or I don't want to just impose something.
Impose something.
Well, I'd have to have an idea to
Oh, okay. Sorry. So you don't want to impose something and you don't have anything to impose are two different things. That's
well, they can both be true.
Yes, yeah, okay. I guess that's totally fair. Why can't we have both? That's completely legit.
Well, it looks like they basically seem to thrive in particular gases in the atmosphere. Like maybe that's related to what they're called.
Yeah, maybe they float and we call them floaters, or that's like a colloquial term for them. I don't know.
Oh man, that sounds like super offensive and probably something that Earth people would do.
I don't know. I could definitely see it.
I think that's a reasonable colloquialism, like whatever they're officially called, like.
Yeah, we can come up with that later if we need to. So yeah, Justice, it's floaters have been giving us a really hard time about that colony on their side. I'm forgetting the name of it already. New Roanoke, yeah. Is it really a colony? Like the last intel I got was there were just a few prospectors like looking around there, and there wasn't really much of a settlement. Is that still true, or is that out of date?
So, I mean, they've kind of been building up for a while, as far as I can tell. I haven't been able to spend too much time there because, well, company's got me busy on all sorts of things. You know, company life.
What is it this time?
It's that complex of the Groot system, or the around Groot. They've got a jungle planet that they're looking at.
Oh yeah.
Did Mother Ra Mother
You can
Ra
call me
too
Mother.
cut in?
No, nothing. But you can just call me Mother.
Okay.
That's
I mean,
short.
this would be a good time to like show up.
And then you you see the door open, and you see the egg just kind of like slowly enters the space, and the window's glowing, and you see her face just frail and old and wrinkly.
Well, Mother,
and she says,
welcome to the office.
Yep. Well, thanks for having me here. As you know, this is probably not my. I don't always come here, but Shannon, Miss Wu of told me that something big is happening, and I'd like to know because you know the Earth is dying and I'm dying, and it's in our best interest for us to make the right decision. Would you please clue me in? What's your character's name? Charlie.
I don't know if the Earth is dying. I mean, I know you've been saying that for a while. I mean, I guess nothing lives forever, so you're somewhere on the road to dying at all times. But the only real news is that um, our new alien friends are pushing for a colony here. They seem to think that we already set up a colony in their system, which, as far as I know, isn't the case. But I mean, there are some people over there, but I wouldn't call that a colony. And
Well,
they think it would be only fair for them to respond in kind, and they want us to give them Venus, essentially.
Venus. Oh, Venus. Well, as you know, I don't know if actually we know, but the history of humankind, of this desire to expand and go forth and conquer, this is what truly we're facing here. Other beings to us. It's nothing new. Be tread with caution. For I can never tell what the internal to expand and exploit, but let's just all be cautious here. We could do.
And listening intently to Mother, Justice says, I'm worried that if we don't let them take the step, then things are going to get worse. I think they're going to become more aggressive from what I've observed of them if we don't give them what they want. And that is me invoking my role, by the way. If you say something or do something that sounds like your role, it's helpful to like make some sort of sign that you're exercising your power. So my power is perspective is to add a prediction to the crossroads. So if we don't, if we do not approve the alien colony, then the aliens become aggressive.
I had gotten that sense, Justice. Like they've been really adamant about us letting them have Venus. Much more so than any of our other dealings with them.
What do you plan to do about it?
Well, there's not much support for it. But I mean, we could probably sell it if we had to. Mother, you had cautioned for not rushing into this. What would that look like? How do you think we could kind of slow pedal this?
Well, it's hard to slow pedal this when we've been rushing ahead with our expansion, but it is, I think, when the time comes and it is to decide if we should approve their colony within our system, I think it's also the right time for us to reflect on what we've done to our solar system, this destruction and expansion always opens up hostility other beings within our system, and so I would say we really need to reconsider where we've come from and what we do with our actions based on what we can learn from the past. And the past suggests that if we open our homes and approving their colony on Venus, then I think a peaceful and cooperative would blossom, and that's my action as a perspective is to build a better universe, especially you know, as you know, maybe they could bring Earth back from dying back to its glory days, and I wish that's what I see.
Awesome. So, does anyone have something to add to that? Because I think that's a good place to cut it. Basically, you cut it as the action is playing out or the conversation is playing out, and I think we've had some good establishment there.
Yeah, I'd like to do one thing using my authority, and that's to
Yes.
allow surveyors in to Venus to kind of like give a little portion out, slow play this a little bit.
Cool. So you're kind of working to delay it with the surveyors.
Right.
Cool. So now that the scene's wrapped up, anyone who wants can have a reaction to the scene. A reaction is just a really quick moment where you roleplay your character doing or seeing something, witnessing any fallout from the scene, and describe where are you, what do you do in one sentence, and you're allowed to use your role for an action if you wish. So does anyone have reactions to this scene?
Yeah, I wasn't in it, so let me do that. I think this is you clued me in that I would get a chance to do something like this. So why don't I go ahead and take advantage of that? Um um uh um I think that I am oh yeah, like I am uh um I'm teaching a class. And I am uh um um I'm at my house, and I'm standing on the there's like a disc that's like 3 or 4 feet across, and there's just like a curved wall in front of me, and I'm standing on the disc, and I've got a little like a little micro headset thing on, and um uh I'm wearing what looks like a I don't know, like a sleek pantsuit. Um, but there are subtle little gold dots on like my elbow, my wrist, my shoulders, my knees, my waist, and um, in front of me, um, uh, you know what? Not even on like I don't think I even need that curved wall. On my contact lenses is my class, who are sitting in different spots all over the world, right? But they've each got a, whatever, uh like streaming style. They've each got a camera on them so that I can see them and they can see me, and projected behind me, green screen style, is my lesson, where I'm talking about it and stuff like this. And so I'm doing this like virtual college class thing with students who are wherever, all over the world. And on my left contact lens, like whatever text that Mother Ratu has sent me, updating me on what went down at the meeting. Not to speak for you, Zach, but I think it sounded like, I mean, is this a thing where it would make sense that you would kind of clue me in on what happened there? Okay. And I'm looking at that, and I'm teaching my class, and and I kind of see that, and I sort of cock my head, and I say, well, okay, so we're doing, you know, it's like, so Arabic, let's try a sentence. That's not going to go over well. Let's translate that, and we'll cut away from that.
Yeah, so like that just sort of the kind of the feeling of the people then.
And I am because as the touchstone, I decide what the people of the kingdom feel. As soon as we see me react or express an opinion, we know that's the attitude of the people too.
Yes, and you are allowed to express opinions that are your individual character, but you should basically explicitly note that. It's like, I don't speak for the people here.
I speak for the people here. Sorry, I'll do my little kingdom symbol. This is the people, like, this is the most significant event in human civilization. The people want to see aliens.
Cool. So as the last step in the scene, what I do is I get to choose one of the boxes to mark. So if you look on the Crossroads Crisis Time Passes, then there are different numbers of boxes in these. And I'm going to mark a box in the Crossroads because I think it's the default, and it also, this scene did advance the Crossroad. You advance Crisis if you think that this scene showcased the internal struggle or the external struggles of the kingdom. And Time Passes if you want to slow things down and extend the Crossroads. So let's move on to Charlie. Set us a scene. Tell us where you are, who else is there, what's going on. You also don't have to name these main characters as the other characters. You can also name NPCs, and then we'll step in and play those parts.
So we can author them on the fly, in other words?
Correct.
Cool.
Okay. So I don't think this is taking place at one of the locations we've already established. I think this is taking place in orbit around Venus. And I think this is the rival of the first surveyors from the floaters. And I'm wondering, do you think any of your characters would be there for that moment, or should I establish some NPCs for this one?
You need a translator?
Almost certainly, yeah. That makes sense. I don't know what the corporation's up to, whether they'd have Justice here or not, and I don't know.
I think Justice is off on other business.
And I get the sense Mother Ratu tends to stick to Earth mostly.
Yeah, especially if Shannon's there, I feel like she'll clue me in later.
Okay, so... And we're only playing folks from our kingdom, so any alien representative wouldn't be part of the scene so much as
I mean,
character.
let me double check that, like what the intent of that is, like, because the main intent is to reflect things back to the kingdom.
I'm really cool if we never actually like talk to them face to face or have them in a scene. Like we can see them and stuff, but
Yeah, that would make sense. The main,
yeah, I love it
yeah.
if none of us are actually playing them at any point. That's fine.
Yeah, that would be cool. The main thing about supporting characters is that supporting characters do not possess the powers of your role.
Okay.
But anyone does have an opportunity to react and use their power.
So yeah, I think that we're there to just see that they safely arrive, and reach the surface safely and get on to their business. And I think what's happening at the scene is that we get a communique from them. That Shannon translates and delivers the translation to Charlie, that they've arrived with more people than they said they would have. And I think it would be good to have like an NPC representing either a different political party or faction of the humans, or perhaps like a military faction. Does anyone have something in mind they'd like to play?
Well, what's the majority party on Earth but the minority party on Mars?
That's a good question. Maybe it's more of like a corporatist party, like the.
Oh,
Although
you know what?
I do kind of owe my rise to the.
It could also.
I had myself tasked by what I kind of perceived to be like the UN, which I called the UTA. I think will like the Unitary Terran Authority.
Okay.
Do we want to make them kind of the rival political party? That makes things really interesting with you and me.
Yeah.
If I'm actually like, like
they're
if
kind
I
of like
my
the
funding
old guard
from them, and yeah.
So what's their main are they like isolationist? Are they expansionist? Are they? What do you think their main political goal is?
I think I think the words Unitary Terran Authority describe what their goal is, which is that yeah, you're on Mars, but you're humans first, and so you should be like everybody everywhere should be acting in the interests of the planet Earth, because ultimately that's where you're from.
All right. So do we want to start the scene then?
Yeah,
with no NPCs. Sounds good.
Yeah. But does the UTA thing work?
Yeah, it works for me.
Cool. Excellent. All right. Good. So Chuck,
yeah.
This is when we laid down the ground rules for the expedition. So the Gobluxians don't make a distinction between an individual and what we would call their family. So when you tell them that that you will allow 7
surveyors,
that's each of them and their It's hard to describe. It's like a pod of fish, but it's essentially their family, their extended family.
How extended are we talking here?
8 to 10 each.
So there's like almost 100 of them.
There's 103.
Oh, great. And are they all surveyors, or what's the rest of the family gonna do when?
It's it's difficult to explain. They have a distributed consciousness that is okay. So you know how like in an old nuclear family, the father would be responsible for income, mother responsible for child rearing, perhaps grandparents responsible for child care, and maybe maintaining family traditions, children responsible for learning to like that.
Right.
So imagine if you were split into 5 people like that, but one person was responsible for remembering to dress in the morning, and another person was responsible for knowing how to do your job, and another one was responsible for knowing how to drive. I'm sorry, I
think I get it. So I think we can sell this. I mean, I was worried about this first, but we can just say they don't all fit in one body, right? And when you say there's still 7 of them, they just they're spread out.
Well, yes and no. I mean, they are each distinct individuals, but together they make up the surveyor. Yeah, I mean, I think it's.
So what's the UTA think about this?
What's the what?
The UTA, wasn't that the Unitary
Terran
Authority?
Yeah, United Terran Authority. I shrug, and I say, I'm not a politician, Chuck. You know that. I'm an academic.
Right, but you're an academic that kind of has been assigned to this job by.
I write grant proposals, and someone in the bureaucracy approves them, and as long as they keep signing my grant proposals, I try not to dig too hard into what they're doing.
Okay. So what sort of reports do you have to make about this? Can we keep a lid on this? I mean,
I think that we can couch it, that we can try to use language that spins it the best way we can, but that if we try to conceal essential facts, it's going to go very badly.
Okay. So I think we just sell it. I think
if we lie, it's not going to.
Yeah, I hear you. That folks won't respond well, finding out they've been lied to. But we can spin it without lying, I think. So we just say. So I'm going to use my authority here to say how I don't know, at least my party response to this is we sent out whatever the equivalent of a future spacefaring press release is, and say our new neighbors have arrived. Well, our neighbors across the wormhole have arrived to kind of do some surveying and study of Venus.
Yeah, that totally is something you can do. Just make it happen.
And just kind of bury on page 7 or whatever how many there are.
All right. All right.
And hope for the best.
Oh, yeah, that is. Whenever someone says "and hope for the best," that's seen for sure.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Nice. So, up for reactions. I think I'm going to have a reaction there. Justice is in the jungles of Group 3, checking news feeds, sees the press release, and so analyzing this, like, he's going to predict if we keep giving the aliens a wide berth, there's going to be a rush of colonization in the solar system. So that is Mia's perspective.
Okay. Does that create a new crossroads, or is that an elaboration of this crossroads?
No, that's a prediction for this crossroads.
Okay.
If anybody wants to challenge that, you can actually do that with your own reaction. Like, basically, if you don't want that to be the case, you can actually stop my prediction if you challenge. If anyone's interested in doing that, I'll explain the procedures for that. Otherwise, we'll move on.
So, how do we get to resolving the crossroads? What's the process for that?
Once the meter fills up, so after everyone's done with the reactions, you mark a box. When there are 5 crossroads marked off, then that resolves the crossroads, and we'll have a procedure for that.
Okay.
Does anyone else have a reaction?
I can. You see this kind of you see Mother Ra'atu in her bed, which is also egg-shaped, but it's half open. After she just finished listening to whatever Shannon was telling her what just happened, and from the ceiling, there's this kind of like the end of the telescope coming in, and it just rests on her eye, and she could see Venus from her bed, and seeing kind of like the small spread of the surveyors around the planet. There's this one area, and that's just it with Mother Venus, and yep, that's it.
Cool. If everyone's done with the reactions, let's move on to Jim.
All right. So I definitely want to get. I want us to have a scene at the library because I think the library is friggin' cool. So I think I'm going to go actually visit Mother Ratu at the Great Ancient Earth Library.
Us.
And so
I don't think Charlie would be there, but if you'd like me to play an NPC, that's fine.
I think it's probably just the two of us for this one.
Okay.
And so if I come into the library to visit you and speak to you, Mother Ratu, like, where do I find you? What are you reading up on to kind of reflect on what's going on right now, or where are you going just for comfort?
Well, you always find Mother Atu if she's not. She's reading, and she's reading in her study, which is this big hall, and everything looks like a library 300 years ago, meaning they're all books, no screens, no nothing, wooden chairs, desks, and nicely carpeted. And it's probably the only remnants of like old Earth that you'd see anywhere on Earth. And she listens. She doesn't look at you, but she listens, and she'll talk while she's also engrossed in reading. And that's where you find Mother Atu.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm coming down the and I stop before the, like there's an actual like a door there with like a door handle on it. It's an affectation to her.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little and I like hold my hand to a panel on the wall, and a little thing like a drawer slides out, and I kind of do one of these, and I like put my little high-tech contact lenses into a contact case and put it there. I like pop my little earbud phone out, and I put that down there. And it kind of slides into the wall, and I walk in there, and I'm blinking because I'm like super nearsighted, and I've just taken my corrective lenses out. And I kind of chuckle a little bit as I look. There's a little end table right when I walk in the door, and it's got a pair of old style glasses on it, which I know like, and I kind of, I smile, and I take them, and I kind of flip them open, and I put them on my face, and I say, and I go walking up. And what exactly are you reading right now?
Just I don't know. She's reading a book about let's see, like the Exodus, and also a some sort of like a I don't know, like very journals of the spacefaring, the golden age of spacefaring. And she says to you, Wu, you forgot to knock.
And I roll my eyes and I say, sorry, Professor, I knew you'd be in the middle of something, and you wouldn't have, and you would have let me in anyway.
You know, the rule is the rule. It's my chamber. There's that wooden door, and when you come in, you knock.
And I kind of cock my head, and I step back outside, and I do that thing where I don't close the door all the way, but like I swing it enough so that I can rap, and then I like do one of these where I like poke my head around. Professor?
Come on in, Wu.
Thank you so much. And I come in, push the door closed behind me. Oh, I look forward to my 200th birthday when I will be able to, in good conscience, tell all of those petitions to go fuck themselves because I have a book to read. I don't envy you having to be in the chair, but I envy you this, I say, and kind of point at all the books.
And Mother Ratu kind of like pauses on a word that she's reading, and like continues along, and she says, but almost certainly you don't envy my condition right now, Wu. The earth is dying, and I'm dying with it. During this turbulent matter, what have brought you here?
Professor, I respect your wisdom. I respect your years. Your solipsism on your connection between between your advanced years and the state of the Earth. I'm still skeptical about that.
Skeptical about
that any of us is so important that when we die, the Earth will die with us?
This is where humans are from. This is where this is our womb. This is where we come out, and where this is where we see the world. Well, I don't. You've certainly forgotten about that. And without the Earth, the humans are just aimless, non-identity, vast space.
It's not that I've forgotten that, Professor. It's just that I don't agree.
You don't agree?
We shouldn't. Let's not have this debate right now. I'm here because I wanted to bring you up to date on everything that's going on, and I felt it would be better if we spoke face to face, where at least as we can be reasonably confident that there aren't many people eavesdropping on us.
I can certainly guarantee that. So, 103, huh?
Sorry,
That's the number there.
As a player, I'm not sure what you're asking me.
Oh, it's 103 surveyors.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yes, sorry. Okay, yeah. I came up with that number. There we go. And I cock my head and I say 103, yes. But 7. If you technically, really, it's just 7.
That really doesn't make sense, Wu, but you know what? It truly is outside of my realm.
Professor, the way that I appreciate that there's a role for terracentrism, but even you can't stand before me and claim that there's no differentiation between the cultures that arose here on Earth that are as significant as the differences between our homogeneous Earth culture that we have now and the culture of these new visitors.
I guess you're right. I guess there's something to do with.
Hey, wait, sorry. Can you repeat that?
You know, sometimes the students can be right.
and I laugh good-naturedly, well, thank you for that. It's I never tire of hearing it.
What's the next plan here? 103 of them, or 7, or whatever, and we're just gonna allow them to take Venus, huh?
They're going to survey. They've promised us a report and a full. Now, I think that I have managed to make them understand that this visit is provisional and that they need to present us with what the next step is, and that there is a process.
Do you know what they're looking for? Do you know what they're actually want? Because I know settling is not just the end and be all.
I don't. The work of translation, communicating with them is time-consuming and difficult. It's not as simple as just processing an Earth language. There's they don't speak Their language works differently because of the way that their atmosphere is composed. It's the way sound vibrations work in our thin atmosphere is very different than the way that it works in their heavy atmosphere. And it's a lot of technical xenolinguistics, which I know you're familiar with, but that probably there's only 2 or 3 people in the solar system right now that really have a grasp on it.
Well, yeah.
But I'll send you.
I
can probably get permission to send you the white papers if you'd like.
The white papers will be best. But what I really need right now is your honesty, Wu. I know you translated, and you know what they talk would maybe have a clue what they're talking about. I want you to, as a person, and I want you to please translate how you feel, how your emotion is tied towards this further input. I trust you, Wu, from the bottom, from what you can see and what you can feel. Are you optimistic or are you pessimistic with what we have going on here?
I'm the luckiest person who has ever lived, is how I feel right now. To be alive at this time, to be witnessing this is the most important thing that's ever happened. And I cannot believe that I am a part of it. It's astonishing. I am so grateful that you are alive to see this.
I think that's probably a good place to cut. Thinking about, I don't think I have a reaction to this scene. Both of you can also have reactions, by the way, on your own.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think Charlie has a reaction not to specifically what happened in the scene, because I don't think he's privy to the conversation or anything. But the report that was mentioned, I think, eventually arrives on his desk. And it says that the planet is suitable and for habitation of their kind, from their kind, and that they'd like to commence immediately. And Charlie kind of cusses a little bit and crumples the paper up and gets ready for a really raucous parliament after announcing this.
Nice. By the way, did you check a box on one of the cards, Patrick? By default, you usually check Crossroads.
I think it would be Crossroads.
Yeah.
How do I do that?
It's you see the paint bucket fill on the toolbar. You could also type in X in it or whatever, but I just select the box.
Whoops.
On the. Oh yeah, no, not down there.
Wrong one selected.
Yep.
All right.
Cool. Does anyone else have reactions? So, Jim, choose one of the 3. You also have the option of checking
crisis box for
in
free.
Addition. Yes.
Which I'm going to go ahead and do, because why not? It's free. And if the crisis box fills all the way up, then a crisis happens. Is that what happens? Is that how that goes?
Correct. And that's the point where we look at the situation and decide whether or not the kingdom falls apart or stays together.
Got it. So I will mark 1 crisis box and 1 crossroads box.
Okay. Zach.
Okay. I think Mother Ra'atu needs to I think Mother Ra'atu wants to know what the Willis Amalgamated what's the other Willis Amalgamated Holdings is what about the settlement of Venus, and so she is going to kind of like go out of her comfort zone. You know what? I think she's not going to be physically in the mothership, Willis Amalgamated, but she's going to have like it's the same egg upside down with the window, but it's just like a projection of her face on it, and with her assistant.
So,
and
or sorry, go on.
And I want Justice and what's his name? I want Justice to be there too. Yeah. And I'm imagining we're in some sort of a let's scrap that. Let's I want to have it be at the neutral zone. So everyone can if everyone wants to, and we can have like an open and frank discussion, like a meeting at this neutral zone. And I'm imagining it's some sort of a like spinning, the structure is like some sort of like spinning disc, and then right at the center there's a round table with about like 20 chairs along the side, and I think we're gonna have the what they call what'd you call them, Jim? What are the aliens called? Gobloxins. Yep. And we have a representative of there, or a representative of the old Earth, and the Labor Party. We have Willis, represented by you, Justice. Thank you.
Yeah, and I imagine like I'm not necessarily there in a decision-making capacity, but kind of to hang around, like make sure things don't go south and report back to Willis. Even if
Cool.
Mother has different motivations for getting me here.
What
Sure.
generation of Willis are we on? I mean, not to distract too much. I'm just curious. Is this like we like 5 generations into the Willis dynasty?
I think that might be cool. Like,
because like the founder of Walmart's dead, but it's still named after him. And,
Fuck that, man! If we have a college professor that's 300 years old, he's probably like 270 or something like that.
Oh yeah.
You know, like he has all of the best. You know, he's got an unlimited amount of money to keep himself alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
And it may be that he spends his time in space because the zero gravity is like easier on your joints and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah,
you know, like Mother Ratu'd probably be a lot more comfortable if she didn't stay on Earth all the time, but she for some
Sure,
reason.
but she can't.
Yeah.
She can't leave her. So the scene, I think mother will start, and she says to Tians via Wu, and she asks, how soon is immediately?
Regarding
the settlement. When are we going to start seeing a town, a city, built, starting to being constructed in Venus?
Well, I mean that's a political question. The Poblacians certainly want immediately to mean literally immediately, but I'm not a dictator. I can't just approve that myself. We need to sell the people on this and get approval for it. You're a good judge of how people feel. What do people feel like about this? It's a big change.
It is a big change, but they're curious. And the best way, I think your instinct, the best way to get them to accept this is to make a spectacle out of it. Make it an event. Make it the amazing thing that it is.
Is that how people are going to accept it the best, with some sort of a celebration?
Yes, I think so. I think if you let people line the route between the wormhole and Venus with their ships with welcome messages, and I think it will whether you feel this way or not, letting the people of Earth feel like they're hosts.
Yeah.
Let them in on the spectacle. Don't hide this behind bureaucracy and secrecy.
So I'm actually going to step up here.
Yeah.
And I am going to attempt to overthrow.
So, like, the yes/no crossroads questions, you need to have an actual ability to author those, right? If you want to influence those.
Yes, if you want to influence the yes or no, that is correct.
Okay. So what does overthrow look like?
So overthrow means that I'm trying to push you out of your role by taking on your role instead. Okay. I'm changing to touchstone, which means, so normally when the crossroads comes, perspective gets to choose whether or not the predictions they made come true.
Uh-huh.
I give that up because I'm switching to touchstone. They're coming true. The predictions that I made are coming true no matter what, one way or the other.
Okay.
Switching to touchstone. So the way the overthrow works, Justice just stands up, steps forward. He's like, bullshit. You and all these high-minded ideas, you know what the people really want, and it's not these feel-good celebrations and festivals. You're out of touch. And I think like Justice just positions himself right in front of Shannon in an imposing way. So You get to decide whether or not that's enough to overthrow you. Also, so when I change my role, I have to pay a price. So the price I'm paying is that I'm actually stepping out of line and basically going above and beyond what Willis Amalgamated wanted me to do. So I'm actually taking a significant reputation hit for my personal life. I'm probably taking a pay cut as well by doing this. So you, as the defender, get to choose whether or not that was enough to overthrow you as touchstone, or if I need to do something else.
So you kind of get up in my face like that, and like my eyes narrow, and I like clench my teeth, and I say, when I was 12, I lived through the simian flu epidemic in Cleveland. No, not Cleveland. The simian flu epidemic in Taipei. And petty little tyrants like you thought that that was their moment when they could take back what civilization had taken away from them. And it wasn't their moment then, and it's not your moment now. So I'm just to step up. I don't, that's not like you're out of touch, not nearly enough to get her to I don't think to
So what
step off.
What do I have to do to overthrow you successfully is basically so it's either yes or yes if.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. So I think so yes, if you have I'm the one who believes in argumentation and evidence. Uh yes, if you can like, well, we conducted this survey here and we asked the question this way, and we conducted this survey here and we asked the question this way. If you can provide me with like evidence that I actually am working from my own opinion and not from the actual, from what the people really have said, then that would be enough that would do it. You're muted.
I'm going to back off at that point. My role is still changed, but you keep your role.
Okay.
So now we're both touchstones, which means there may be differing opinions.
Got it. Oh, that's really interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Humanity is divided potentially.
Cool. Which seems entirely legit to me. So that's but that means that no. Okay, so you were perspective. So if you want to switch roles, then you are but de facto overthrowing someone else, right? You can't just switch without.
You can change your own role. Overthrowing is just a way to stop something that somebody has done.
Got it. Oh, got it. It's got it. It's an attempt to
yeah, you're trying to push them out of their role.
Got it. All right.
Undo what they did. But yeah, you can just change your role whenever you want.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
You have to have had the role for one scene, but yeah.
Okay. And I, like, so yeah, so I just shut you down. And is there anything else? Like, is that the scene, or does anybody else is there stuff to do?
I would like to do an action
sure.
before we end the scene.
Yeah, excellent.
And I think it's kind of reacting from what just happened between Justice and Shannon. And out of this egg, you hear her say, "Well, this is what I'm afraid this is getting close to what I've been predicting. It is true that if we approve this by the Pobloxians, we will establish, humankind will establish, and the Pobloxians will establish a peaceful coexistence. But everything, like, there's gonna be a lot of tension, perhaps even war between humankinds themselves, not with the Pobloxians, but among humans. And that's my action.
I'm actually going to react to the scene.
So is that a crossroads thing we're writing in?
Is the scene? Oh yeah.
And before we completely call the scene, could I just get an elaboration of the perspective that Justice is like representing as Touchstone now, as far as people being upset with this? Like, what are they upset about?
Yeah, so like he's kind of just feeling that all these ideas that people will just want to celebrate this and find this aspirational, like he thinks people are, he's concerned by this, and
well,
he's frustrated.
The explicit idea that you expressed was that the elites were out of touch with what the people wanted.
Yes.
Because it's entirely possible for them to both think aliens are really cool and that, like, the politicians and the professors and stuff have no fucking idea what it is that they actually think.
It's also true.
Yeah.
I'm going to elaborate in my reaction too. So
So I don't think I have a specific reaction to this scene myself.
yeah, my reaction as Justice, sort of after report back to the mothership, looking out at the point of light that is Venus, and like something's just gnawing, and something gnaws inside of him as he's just got this, attitude of really itchy trigger finger and almost waiting for things to go bad.
I don't have a reaction.
Okay, Zach. So yeah, Zach, you can react. Mark a box.
I think you did mark crossroads.
Oh, cool. Right? Cool. You got crossroads. Cool. This will likely be, this if is everyone good with going one more scene and then resolving the crossroads?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, can we? Well, I mean, we're right at 9 o'clock. Yeah. Can we just pretend?
Oh yeah.
Check that last box and just go ahead and
last box.
do it. Yeah.
That's a better idea.
Yeah.
So resolving the crossroads.
Everybody got one scene, so I feel like that's a good.
Yeah.
So when you resolve the crossroads, let's pull that tab up. And let me double check, make sure I'm doing everything. Yeah, so we're ending the game here. So when you resolve a crossroad, first you decide if that's going to end the game or the session. Setting the stage. So, will the kingdom approve an alien colony on Venus? In the yes column, peaceful coexistence with aliens, a rush of alien colonization, and a big war between factions. In the no column, aliens become aggressive. So, first up, step 3, decision. Each player with a power character declares whether they are making the kingdom decide yes or no on the crossroad. No one else votes. So, power. What is the kingdom's decision?
Well, my wish is for the discovery of this new alien species to unite humanity. So I'm willing to risk conflict with the aliens if it unites humanity, or at least keeps humanity from breaking apart. So I think I vote no on this crossroads.
Okay.
And escalate tensions with the aliens to avoid
Yes.
internal tensions.
So, if there were any orders on the crossroads, anyone who made those orders would also decide whether or not they were carried out. There are none currently. Predictions. For each prediction on the winning side, the prospective player who controls that prediction decides whether or not it happens. However, I'm no longer prospective, so I don't control that. So that happens. The aliens become aggressive when we block them out of settling on Venus. Touchstones. Each touchstone decides whether everything that has happened during the crossroad resolution has brought the kingdom closer to disaster or calmed the situation down. So starting with Jim. Show what your character thinks about what has happened. Say where you are and what you think to show us what the people of the kingdom feel. You may then check a crisis or uncheck a crisis.
Oh my god, I think I am at the I'm at the black market on Phobos. And I am talking to a sketchy looking belter former asteroid miner, whose uniform is like, the right arm is like Velcroed, kind of folded and Velcroed up here because they lost it in some kind of horrible accident. And like the news passes in like a ripple through the market. And and I say to him, "What is it?" And he says to me, "Yep, unanimous, close vote, but they decided to kick the aliens, to kick the floaters off of Venus. That's not going to be good for business," he says. And I just start to cry. I just start to sob. And, oh my God, yeah, this is a crisis. So I'm going to mark that. All right.
You're muted.
Yeah, so this is Justice on the mothership. He's studying reports of Plebloxian activity. Just like where they're amassing, where they're getting ready. And he's looking at the wormhole, and you just kind of see him tapping his finger faster and faster on the display as he looks at this wormhole and the purgatory. And there's an anxiety, but there's also an excitement because things are about to get really, really volatile. And yeah, I'm checking a crisis box. So one last thing can happen with the popular reaction, if there are contradictory popular reactions, you check one box for every touchstone that disagrees. And I think that might apply here. So we're actually going to have a little bit of chain reaction here. Normally, after this, you would have a reflection. You look at your wish or fear and decide if it's changed. That's more applicable in a longer game. But to finish off the crossroads, you check a box in time passes. So all the crisis boxes are filled up. This also means we have to resolve a crisis. This is pretty straightforward. So the crisis, what is the crisis right now that's threatening the kingdom?
I think it sure sounds like it's war with the aliens, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. So really,
Plobloxians.
Really quickly, each player describes their perspective on the crisis, what their character sees happening, where you are, what you see. Do not take any actions. Just drop that in. So I think I see Justice basically gearing up for the newest Willis amalgamated expeditionary force. Jim, did you have Patrick?
All right. Yeah. I think I think the coalition government has fallen apart in response to this. And there's a wave of new elections that are about to happen. And Charlie's running around trying to manage this process and get a feel for how this election is going to go.
And I think Mother is, I think Mother was expecting that the Pobloxians would help the dying Earth, probably. And so I think she's kind of like gone more, I don't know, she's just lost hope and is getting ready to like retreat and like die. And I think the ancient Earth knowledge is dying with her too, and so yeah.
Yeah, we'll cut it there for now. Jim.
I am on a shuttle from I'm on a shuttle from Phobos down to the Mons, whatever, like the Mons Olympus spaceport on Mars, having heard the news, and my shuttle hits the ground and I come walking off of it, and there are half a dozen soldiers there waiting for me. Who say, Professor, we're gonna have to, Doctor, sorry, yeah, Dr. Wu, we're gonna have to ask you to come with us. Don't worry, we'll take care of your luggage. And I'm getting drafted, basically.
Nice. So at this point, decide whether or not your character is going to try to escape the kingdom, whatever that means, or stick with the kingdom and attempt to influence its fate. So Justice is definitely staying with the kingdom.
Charlie staying with the kingdom. I don't know that he's still a power or not, though. But he's
that's okay. That like if the game was going on, we would actually you could explore that, like change your role.
Right.
Sorry. I stay with the kingdom because I believe that with enough persuasion, if you marshal the right arguments, you can convince people. So I'm gonna give that a go from the inside.
I think Mother Atu is leaving the kingdom not by choice. I think she's just had to, and because I don't think people need her advice anymore.
Oh man, that's so tragic. So now, everyone now votes, thumbs up or thumbs down. You can also vote neutral on whether or not the kingdom should survive or be destroyed. Whatever you want. Like, it could be what you think is going to happen. It could be what you think the kingdom deserves. The only exception is that anyone who escapes has to vote thumbs down. Yes. So, I'm going to say, like, on the count of 3. Take some time to think it. Once you're done thinking about it, like, get ready to vote. Okay. So 3, 2, 1, vote. All right. So that's 2 up, 1 down, and 1 neutral. So the kingdom survives. So what do we think the survival of the kingdom looks like?
I
Oh, yeah, Jim, you were muted.
I think it looks like collapsing the wormhole.
Ooh. Ooh.
I think
So,
also, but at the same, go for it.
No, you were saying.
But also at the same time, the Earth is completely dead. So.
Ooh, yeah.
There aren't humans anymore.
So life's left on Mars, basically. That's where we're at.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Like, you've got you kind of had this battle at the gate of the wormhole, and then the wormhole got collapsed. Earth is borderline uninhabitable, and everything centers around Mars. Woo.
Huh.
Nice.
It's one way of surviving.
Yeah, no, that is kingdom. There would normally be some cleanup at the end if you were continuing forward, but I think that worked out pretty nicely. Very dramatic.
Yeah, I also really like how, like, we could very easily keep playing in this even after that drastic thing. Yeah. Like with different characters or whatever. Mm-hmm. we could roll that situation forward, or it's a satisfying one shot. It's nice in that economy is really cool and interesting.
So, are folks okay with this getting posted publicly?
Yes, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. Then real quick, before we do an element of debrief, I want to, I'll be doing that off air, but real quick, go back around, just say a bit of who you are and where we can find you around the internet. I'm Andy Haig, use he, him pronouns. You can find me at Karubethian on Twitter. And from there, you can probably find a link to my blog. Jim, why don't you go?
Hey, I'm Jim Crocker. Folks who know me from outside the Gauntlet probably know me because I've been a retailer of hobby games for many years. I own a business called Jim Likes Games, where I sell tabletop role-playing games, indie games, and stuff like that. At least one person in the game said they actually bought the very copy of Kingdom that they're using in this game from me at another convention. So that's great. You can find me on Twitter at JimLikesGames and www.jimlikesgames.com. The other thing, since one of you mentioned Columbus, I'm one of the co-founders of Games on Demand at Origins. So if these are the kind of games that you like to play, definitely check out Games on Demand at Origins. It is like the reason to go to Origins as far as I'm concerned. You just get there at the start of the con. You never have to leave that room, and you will get an amazing experience playing games exactly like the ones we just played. So.
Cool. Patrick.
All right. I am Patrick Kirkner. Let's see. I don't have much of a web presence. You can find me by name searching me on Twitter. But I mostly post about basketball, so I'm not sure how much interest you'd have in that. The main convention I go to every year is you can find me facilitating games with Games on Demand at PAX Unplugged in my home city of Philadelphia. So stop on by if you happen to be in Philly and play some indie role-playing games.
All right. My name is Zach Suryatmaja. I go by he and pronouns. And yeah, I don't have a lot of web presence too. So, I mean, I'm on the Gauntlet. I play games there.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, yep.
All right. Thank you, all of you, for playing. It was a good time, and hope to see you all around.